First contact. Captain Sarah Chen squinted through the swirling dust storm, her helmet's visor struggling to compensate for the low visibility. The alien planet's harsh environment was unlike anything she had encountered in her years of space exploration. As the wind howled around her, Sarah checked her suit's oxygen levels, still holding steady but not for long. She needed to find shelter and fast. Her mission was supposed to be a routine survey of this newly discovered world in the Proxima Centauri system. But as soon as her small craft entered the atmosphere, things went sideways. Some kind of electromagnetic interference had fried her ship's systems, forcing her to make an emergency landing. Now, she was trudging through an endless expanse of rocky terrain, hoping to find some form of refuge from the relentless storm. As Sarah crested yet another hill, something caught her eye. A faint, pulsing light in the distance, barely visible through the haze. It didn't look natural. Could it be a sign of intelligent life? Her heart raced at the possibility. First contact was always a possibility on these missions, but actually encountering an alien civilization, that was the stuff of dreams for most explorers. Caution warred with curiosity as Sarah debated her next move. The sensible thing would be to hunker down and wait out the storm. But that light, it called to her. Decision made, she adjusted her course and pressed on towards the mysterious glow. As she drew closer, the light resolved into a distinct shape. It wasn't a natural formation, that much was certain. The structure was roughly cylindrical, with a domed top that pulsed with a soft blue-green luminescence. It stood about 3 meters tall and appeared to be made of some kind of metal alloy Sarah couldn't identify. She approached slowly, her hand hovering near the stunner at her hip. First contact protocols ran through her mind. Establish peaceful intentions, avoid sudden movements, attempt communication if possible. But as she drew within a few meters of the structure, something unexpected happened. A section of the cylinder's surface rippled and parted, like water. And from within emerged a figure that made Sarah's breath catch in her throat. It was unmistakably alien. The being stood slightly taller than Sarah, with a slender, almost ethereal form. Its skin, if you could call it that, shimmered with an iridescent quality that seemed to shift colors as it moved. Where a human would have a face, this creature had a smooth, featureless expanse with 3 glowing orbs arranged in a triangle. Delicate, tendril-like appendages extended from its upper body, moving with an unsettling grace. For a long moment, human and alien regarded each other in silence. Sarah's mind raced. How should she proceed? What if the alien perceived her as a threat? But before she could decide on a course of action, the alien made the first move. It extended one of its tendrils towards her, the tip glowing softly. Instinctively, Sarah flinched back, but then forced herself to remain still. This was it, the moment every explorer dreamed of but few ever experienced. First contact with an alien intelligence. Slowly, carefully, Sarah raised her own hand, palm outward in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. The alien's tendril gently touched her gloved hand, and suddenly, Sarah's mind exploded with sensation. Images, sounds, and feelings flooded her consciousness. She saw glimpses of a world unlike anything she had ever imagined, vast crystal forests, cities that seemed to be alive and breathing, oceans of liquid metal reflecting impossibly colored skies. But more than that, she felt the alien's essence. Its curiosity, its fear, its wonder at encountering her. As quickly as it began, the connection ended. Sarah staggered back, gasping for breath. The alien too seemed affected, its form rippling with rapid color changes. "Hello," Sarah managed to say, her voice shaky. I come in peace." The alien's response wasn't in words, but rather a series of melodic tones that resonated in Sarah's mind. Somehow, she understood their meaning. "Greetings, star traveler. We are grateful for your arrival." Sarah's brow furrowed in confusion. Grateful. Why? The alien's colors shifted to deeper, more somber hues. "We are stranded. Our vessel damaged. Long have we waited for rescue." The implications hit Sarah like a ton of bricks. This wasn't just first contact. She had stumbled upon a marooned alien in need of help. The magnitude of the situation was almost overwhelming. I'll do what I can to help, Sarah said, her explorer's instincts kicking in. But my own ship is damaged. We might both be stranded here for a while. The alien's response carried a tone of what Sarah could only interpret as wry amusement. Then it seems, Star Traveler, that we are in this together. As if to punctuate the alien's words, a particularly violent gust of wind buffeted them both. Sarah stumbled, and without hesitation, the alien steadied her with its tendrils. "Thank you," Sarah said, a smile forming despite the gravity of their situation. "I'm Sarah, by the way, Sarah Chen." The alien's reply was a complex harmony of tones as Sarah's mind somehow translated into a name, Zarfalaxin. "Zarfalaxin," Sarah repeated, testing the strange name on her tongue. "It's nice to meet you. I have a feeling we have a lot to learn from each other." As the storm raged around them, human and alien retreated into the safety of Zarfalaxin's shelter. Inside, Sarah marveled at the alien technology surrounding her, unlike anything humanity had ever developed. And as they began to communicate in earnest, sharing knowledge of their respective worlds and cultures, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement. This was more than just survival. This was the beginning of something extraordinary, a bridge between two vastly different civilizations. And whatever challenges lay ahead, Sarah was determined to face them head-on, with her new alien ally by her side. The first step into a larger universe had been taken, and for better or worse, nothing would ever be the same again. Cultural exchange. Days passed as the storm outside Zarfalaxin's shelter raged on. Within the confines of the alien structure, Sarah Chen and her extraterrestrial host engaged in a fascinating exchange of knowledge and culture. The initial awkwardness of their encounter had given way to a mutual curiosity that seemed to bridge the vast gulf between their species. Sarah marveled at the interior of Zarfalaxin's living quarters. The walls pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that seemed to respond to their moods and conversations. Floating orbs of light drifted lazily through the air, adjusting their intensity as needed. Everything about the aliens' technology spoke of an advanced civilization that had mastered the integration of biology and machinery in ways humanity had only dreamed of. "Your people must be incredibly advanced," Sarah said, running her hand along a wall that felt both solid and somehow alive. "How long have you been capable of interstellar travel?" Zarfalaxin's reply came as a series of musical tones that Sarah's mind translated into words. "Our kind has traversed the stars for many of your millennia. We are explorers, like you, seeking to understand the vast tapestry of life that fills the cosmos." Sarah nodded, a hint of awe in her voice. "Humanity has only recently taken its first steps into interstellar space. We've colonized a few nearby systems, but nothing on the scale you're describing. How many alien civilizations have you encountered?" The alien's form shimmered with what Sarah had come to recognize as thoughtfulness. "Many, yet few. The universe is vast, and life is precious. Some civilizations rise and fall before we can make contact. Others hide, fearing the unknown. You humans are unique in your openness." "Unique? How so?" Sarah asked, intrigued. "Your species possesses a remarkable combination of curiosity and resilience. Many races, upon discovering they are not alone in the universe, react with fear or aggression. But you seek to understand, to connect. It is a rare and valuable trait." Sarah felt a swell of pride at Zarfalaxin's words. "We've had our share of conflicts and fears," she admitted. "But I like to think our better nature usually wins out in the end. Our diversity, our ability to adapt and overcome challenges, these are our strengths." As they continued to converse, Sarah shared stories of human history, tales of exploration, scientific discovery, and the long, often difficult journey towards unity among Earth's nations. She spoke of humanity's triumphs and failures, their hopes and fears for the future. In return, Zarthalaxin revealed glimpses of their own civilization's past. The aliens' race, which called themselves the Sixari, had evolved on a world of constantly shifting environments. This had led them to develop their remarkable adaptive technology, allowing them to thrive in almost any condition. That explains how you've been able to survive here, Sarah mused. But what brought you to this planet in the first place? And what damaged your ship? Zarthalaxin's colors darkened, a sign Sarah had learned indicated concern or worry. We were studying the unusual properties of this world's core. It emits energies unlike any we have encountered before. But as we attempted to take readings, something reacted. Our systems were overwhelmed, forcing us to crash land. Sarah's brow furrowed. That sounds similar to what happened to my ship. Could this energy be responsible for stranding us both here? It seems likely. The phenomenon appears to interfere with certain types of technology. Our shelter is specially shielded, which is why it remains functional. This revelation sparked Sarah's problem-solving instincts. If we could understand this energy, maybe we could find a way to protect our ships from its effects. Do you still have the data you collected before the crash? Zarthalaxin's form brightened with what Sarah interpreted as excitement. Yes, but much of it is encoded in ways your mind might struggle to comprehend. Perhaps we could attempt another melding. I could share the information directly, as we did when we first met. Sarah hesitated, remembering the overwhelming sensation of their initial contact. But the potential benefits outweighed her apprehension. All right, she said with a nod. Let's give it a try. As Zarthalaxin's tendril gently touched her forehead, Sarah's mind once again exploded with alien sensations. But this time she was more prepared. She focused, trying to make sense of the flood of information pouring into her consciousness. She saw, felt, understood complex equations and multi-dimensional models describing the planet's energy field. The concepts were mind-bending, pushing the limits of her comprehension. But slowly patterns began to emerge. Sarah's human intuition, combined with her scientific training, allowed her to grasp connections that might not have been immediately obvious. When the connection ended, Sarah staggered back, her mind reeling but alive with new possibilities. I think I understand, she said breathlessly. The energy field, it's not just interfering with our technology, it's reacting to it, almost like an immune system responding to a perceived threat. Zarthalaxin's form rippled with surprise. You gleaned this from our data. Remarkable. We had not considered that interpretation. Sarah grinned, a spark of excitement in her eyes. That's the beauty of collaboration. Sometimes a fresh perspective can reveal new insights. If we're right about this, we might be able to find a way to harmonize our technology with the planet's energy rather than trying to shield against it. As they dove into discussing the implications of this discovery, Sarah felt a growing sense of optimism. The challenge before them was immense, but the combined knowledge and skills of human and Sixari gave them a unique advantage. Hours stretched into days as Sarah and Zarthalaxin worked tirelessly on their problem. They took turns venturing outside to gather samples and take readings, braving the harsh conditions of the alien world. Inside the shelter, they pored over data, bouncing ideas off each other in a remarkable display of interspecies cooperation. Through their shared efforts, a bond began to form between them, one that transcended the vast differences in their biology and culture. Sarah found herself marveling at Zarthalaxin's patience and wisdom, while the alien seemed continuously impressed by her creative problem-solving and determination. As they worked, they continued to share stories and insights about their respective civilizations. Sarah spoke of humanity's dreams of peaceful cooperation with alien races, of a hope that drove them to reach for the stars despite the risks. Zarthalaxin, in turn, revealed more about the Sixari's philosophy of cosmic harmony and their role as guardians of developing civilizations. Wait, Sarah said, a note of surprise in her voice. Are you saying your people have been watching Earth? Zarthalaxin's reply carried a hint of what Sarah had come to recognize as gentle amusement. We have observed many worlds, including yours, but we do not interfere. We believe each species must find its own path among the stars. Sarah absorbed this information, her mind racing with the implications. So why reveal yourselves to me now? Circumstances have forced our hand, Zarthalaxin explained, but perhaps it is also a sign that the time for more open contact is approaching. Your species stands on the brink of a great leap forward. How you handle this knowledge may shape the course of your future. As Sarah pondered these words, a sudden tremor shook the shelter. Displays flashed with urgent warnings as a high-pitched whine filled the air. Sarah and Zarthalaxin exchanged alarmed looks. "What's happening?" Sarah asked, steadying herself against a wall. Zarthalaxin's colors shifted rapidly, indicating distress. The planet's energy field, it's becoming unstable. And there's something else. An object approaching from orbit. It's not of Zixari origin. Sarah's heart raced as she processed this new development. Their situation, already precarious, had just become far more complicated. As human and alien stood side by side, facing an unknown threat, Sarah couldn't help but feel that their alliance was about to be put to the ultimate test. The next chapter of their adventure was about to unfold, and the fate of two civilizations might hang in the balance. Looming threat. The ground beneath their feet trembled as Sarah and Zarthalaxin rushed to the shelter's control center. Holographic displays flickered to life, projecting a three-dimensional image of the planet and its surrounding space. A red dot blinked ominously, representing the approaching object. "Can you identify it?" Sarah asked, her eyes fixed on the display. Zarthalaxin's tendrils danced over the controls, their movements a blur of efficiency. Negative. The energy field's interference is making detailed scans impossible, but its trajectory and speed suggest it's not a natural phenomenon. Sarah's mind raced through possibilities. Could it be a rescue ship? Maybe my people have come looking for me. The alien's colors shifted to a doubtful hue. Unlikely. The object's design does not match any known human or Zixari vessel. I fear we may be dealing with an unknown factor. As if to confirm their worst fears, the shelter's sensors suddenly blared with new alerts. The holographic display zoomed in on the planet's surface, showing multiple heat signatures converging on their location. "Are those ships?" Sarah asked, a knot forming in her stomach. "Ground vehicles," Zarthalaxin corrected. "They appear to have launched from the larger craft in orbit. Their heading suggests they are aware of our presence and are moving to intercept." Sarah's hand instinctively moved to the stunner at her hip. Hostile. Unknown, but we must prepare for that possibility. The next few hours were a flurry of activity as Sarah and Zarthalaxin fortified their position as best they could. They repurposed some of the shelter's adaptive technology to create a camouflage field, making it blend in with the surrounding rocky terrain. Sarah's military training came in handy as she set up defensive positions and prepared makeshift weapons from available materials. All the while, the planet's increasingly erratic energy field caused sporadic power fluctuations and interference with their equipment. The combination of the approaching unknown force and the unstable environment made for a tense atmosphere. As they worked, Sarah couldn't help but voice her concerns. "I don't understand. If these are aliens advanced enough for interstellar travel, why would they be hostile? Shouldn't they be interested in peaceful contact?" Zarthalaxin's response was tinged with sadness. "Not all species view the cosmos as we do. Some see new worlds and civilizations as resources to be exploited or threats to be eliminated. It is an unfortunate reality we have encountered before." Sarah frowned, a mixture of determination and worry etched on her face. "Well, if they're looking for a fight, they'll find that humans don't give up easily. We faced long odds before." The alien's form rippled with what Sarah had come to recognize as admiration. "Your species' resilience continues to impress, Sarah Chen. Together, perhaps we stand a chance." As the unknown vehicles drew nearer, Sarah and Zarthalaxin retreated to the heart of the shelter. Through external cameras, They watched as the first of the alien craft crested a nearby hill. The sight made Sarah's breath catch in her throat. The vehicles were unlike anything she had ever seen, sleek, predatory shapes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved with an unsettling grace, hovering just above the ground and leaving no tracks in their wake. "They're not even affected by the energy field," Sarah muttered, a note of awe in her voice despite the danger. "Their technology must be incredibly advanced," Zarthalaxin agreed. "Or perhaps—" The alien's thought was cut short as one of the vehicles suddenly stopped. A hatch opened, and a figure emerged. Sarah leaned closer to the screen, her eyes widening. The being was humanoid in shape, but that's where the similarities ended. Its body seemed to be composed of interlocking plates of some dark, metallic substance. Instead of a face, it had a smooth, reflective surface that pulsed with faint alien symbols. "Are they robots?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Not precisely," Zarthalaxin replied, their tone grave. "I fear we may be dealing with the synthetics." The synthetics? A species we encountered long ago. They were organic once, but chose to shed their biological forms in favor of synthetic bodies. They view organic life as inefficient and obsolete. Sarah's mind reeled at the implications. And they're here because they may view this planet's unique energy as a resource, or they may have detected our presence and see us as a threat to be eliminated. Either way, I fear conflict may be inevitable. As if in response to Zarthalaxin's words, the synthetic being raised an arm. A beam of energy shot forth, striking the ground near their shelter. The camouflage field flickered but held. "They're trying to flush us out," Sarah realized. "We need to make a decision. Do we try to communicate or do we fight?" Zarthalaxin's colors swirled with conflicting emotions. Communication should always be the first option. But with the synthetics, previous attempts have rarely ended peacefully. Sarah nodded grimly. "Then we need a plan. We're outnumbered and outgunned, but we have a few advantages. We know this terrain, and we have your adaptive technology. Plus," she added with a hint of a smile, "they don't know what humans are capable of." As the synthetics began a methodical search pattern, Sarah and Zarthalaxin huddled together, formulating a strategy. They would use the planet's unstable energy field to their advantage, setting traps and misdirections. Sarah's tactical knowledge combined with Zarthalaxin's advanced technology could give them an edge. "If we can capture one of them," Sarah suggested, "maybe we can find a way to communicate, to make them understand we're not a threat." "A risky plan," Zarthalaxin cautioned, "but perhaps our best option. Your species' diplomatic skills are renowned." As they put the finishing touches on their plan, a massive tremor shook the shelter. Alarms blared as new data flooded their screens. "The planet's core," Zarthalaxin exclaimed. "The energy field is reaching critical levels. If it continues to destabilize at this rate, the whole planet could tear itself apart," Sarah finished, her face pale. They shared a look of grim understanding. The stakes had just gotten much higher. Not only did they have to contend with the synthetic threat, but now they were in a race against time to prevent a planetary catastrophe. Sarah took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. "All right, let's do this. For both our peoples, for this planet, and for every other world that might fall into the synthetic's path if we fail." Zarthalaxin's form glowed with resolve. "Together, then, may the cosmos grant us strength." With a final nod of agreement, human and alien moved into action. As they prepared to face the synthetic forces, Sarah couldn't help but marvel at the strange twists of fate that had brought them to this moment. An unlikely alliance, forged in the face of an overwhelming threat, now stood as the last line of defense for an entire world. The next few hours would determine not just their fate, but potentially the course of interstellar relations for generations to come. As Sarah checked her makeshift weapon one last time, she allowed herself a small, determined smile. If the synthetics thought organic life was obsolete, they were in for a surprise. It was time to show them what humanity, and their new alien allies were truly capable of human ingenuity. The air crackled with tension as Sarah and Zarthalaxin put their plan into action. Outside, the synthetic forces had formed a tight perimeter around their shelter, their otherworldly vehicles humming with barely contained energy. The planet's surface trembled periodically, a constant reminder of the ticking clock they faced. Sarah took a deep breath, centering herself. Okay, let's run through this one more time. We need to capture one of the synthetics without alerting the others, find a way to communicate, and somehow convince them to help us stabilize the planet's core, all while avoiding getting killed or captured ourselves. No pressure, right? Zarthalaxin's colors rippled with what Sarah had come to recognize as nervous amusement. When you put it that way, it does sound rather daunting. But I have faith in your species' knack for overcoming impossible odds. Let's hope that knack doesn't fail us now, Sarah muttered. She checked her makeshift weapon, a repurposed piece of Zixari tech that she and Zarthalaxin had modified to emit a focused electromagnetic pulse. In theory, it should temporarily disable a synthetic without causing permanent damage. In theory. Their plan hinged on using the planet's erratic energy field to their advantage. Zarthalaxin had reconfigured the shelter's systems to amplify and direct the field's fluctuations, creating electromagnetic dead zones that would interfere with the synthetic's sensors and communications. Remember, Sarah said, we only get one shot at this. Once they realize what we're doing, they'll adapt quickly. Understood, Zarthalaxin replied. I am ready when you are, Sarah Chen. With a nod, Sarah activated the first phase of their plan. The shelter's external emitters pulsed, sending out a carefully calibrated energy wave. On their monitors, they watched as several of the synthetic vehicles suddenly veered off course, their systems momentarily scrambled. Now, Sarah hissed. They burst from a concealed exit, using the confusion to slip past the perimeter. Sarah's heart pounded as they darted from cover to cover, the alien landscape a blur around them. She marveled at Zarthalaxin's ability to change color and texture, blending seamlessly with their surroundings. They reached their target, an isolated synthetic that had strayed from the main group. Sarah raised her weapon, took careful aim, and fired. The electromagnetic pulse struck true. The synthetic jerked, its smooth surface flickering with erratic patterns, before collapsing to the ground. It worked, Sarah exclaimed, unable to keep the surprise from her voice. Quickly, Zarthalaxin urged, we must move it before the others notice. Together, they managed to drag the incapacitated synthetic to a nearby cave system they had discovered earlier. The naturally occurring minerals in the cave walls would help shield them from detection. Once inside, Sarah and Zarthalaxin worked quickly to secure their captive. Using components from both their technologies, they constructed a makeshift containment field that would hopefully keep the synthetic immobilized once it reactivated. Now comes the tricky part, Sarah said, wiping sweat from her brow. How do we communicate with it? Zarthalaxin's tendrils waved thoughtfully. Perhaps we can use a combination of our methods. My people have some experience with interfacing with non-organic consciousnesses. If we could link that with your human capacity for empathy and lateral thinking. Sarah nodded, catching on to the idea. A hybrid approach. I like it. Let's give it a shot. They set to work, combining Zixari neural interface technology with a rudimentary translation algorithm Sarah helped design based on her linguistics training. It was a long shot, but it was all they had. As they finished their preparations, the synthetic began to show signs of reactivation. Its surface rippled with complex patterns, and the alien symbols on its faceplate pulsed with increasing frequency. Here goes nothing, Sarah murmured. She placed her hand on the interface they had cobbled together, while Zarthalaxin extended a tendril to make contact with the synthetic. The moment of connection was unlike anything Sarah had experienced before. Her mind reeled as it was flooded with streams of data, cold and precise, yet undergirded by something that felt almost curious. Why do you resist assimilation? The thought wasn't so much heard as felt, an alien concept pressing against her consciousness. Organic life is inefficient, prone to error and decay. We offer perfection, immortality. Sarah pushed back with her own thoughts, trying to convey the richness and diversity of organic existence. She showed the synthetic memories of Earth's teeming ecosystems, of human art and music, of the joy of discovery and the strength found in overcoming adversity. Your existence is chaotic, unpredictable, the synthetic responded. This planet's energy could bring order to countless worlds. But at what cost? Sarah argued, finding her voice. You destroy all the potential, all the unique forms of life that could evolve here. And now the planet's core is destabilizing. If we don't find a way to fix it, everything will be lost, including the energy you seek to harness. There was a pause, a sense of the synthetic processing this information. You propose cooperation? Yes, Sarah said firmly. Work with us to stabilize the core. In return, we'll share what we've learned about safely interacting with the planet's energy field. There might be a way for everyone to benefit without resorting to destruction. Another pause, longer this time. Sarah held her breath, acutely aware of the tremors that continued to shake the cave around them. Finally, the synthetic responded. Your proposal has merit. Consensus must be reached with the collective. But this unit is willing to assist in stabilizing the planetary core, pending further negotiation. Sarah let out a relieved breath, sharing a look of cautious optimism with Zarthalaxin. It wasn't a full victory, but it was a start. Thank you, she said to the synthetic. Now let's figure out how to save this planet. What followed was one of the most extraordinary collaborative efforts in the history of any of their species. Sarah's intuitive problem-solving, Zarthalaxin's advanced scientific knowledge, and the synthetic's raw computational power combined to tackle the planet's impending doom. They worked tirelessly, using the synthetic's advanced sensors to map the fluctuations in the planet's energy field. Sarah suggested using principles similar to geological fracking, but in reverse, finding ways to reinforce weak points in the planetary crust to contain the volatile energy. Zarthalaxin's adaptive technology proved crucial, allowing them to create devices capable of redirecting and harmonizing the energy flows. The synthetic provided the precision and speed necessary to deploy these devices at key points around the globe. As hours stretched into days, their unlikely alliance began to yield results. The tremors grew less frequent, the energy readings started to stabilize. There were setbacks and close calls, moments when it seemed all their efforts might be in vain. But each time, they regrouped, adapted, and pressed on. Through it all, Sarah found herself filled with a sense of awe. Here she was, a human from Earth, working alongside beings from across the galaxy to save an alien world. It was everything she had dreamed of when she first looked up at the stars as a child. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of tension and focused work, their monitors showed the planet's core settling into a new, stable configuration. The crisis had been averted. As the realization of their success sank in, Sarah turned to her companions, the shimmering, color-changing alien and the sleek, inscrutable synthetic being. A laugh bubbled up from deep inside her, born of relief, exhaustion, and sheer amazement at the improbability of it all. We did it, she said, her voice filled with wonder. We actually did it. Zarthalaxin's form glowed with warm, joyful colors. Indeed, it is a testament to what can be achieved when different minds come together. The synthetic's response was characteristically more measured, but Sarah sensed a new note in its communication. This collaboration has expanded our understanding. Perhaps there is more to learn from organic life than we had calculated. As the three of them stood there, basking in the aftermath of their shared triumph, Sarah felt a profound sense of hope. They had done more than save a planet. They had opened the door to a new kind of understanding between vastly different forms of life. The challenges ahead were still immense. There would be difficult negotiations with the synthetic collective, careful diplomacy as humanity was introduced to the wider galactic community. But in that moment, looking at her unlikely allies, Sarah Chen knew that the future was bright with possibility. The universe, it seemed, was full of wonders yet to be discovered, and humanity, with its unique blend of ingenuity, adaptability, and determination, was ready to take its place among the stars, forging alliances. The days following their narrow victory were a whirlwind of activity. With the immediate threat to the planet averted, Sarah, Zarfalaxin, and their synthetic ally, whom Sarah had taken to calling Synth for simplicity's sake, found themselves facing a new challenge, establishing a lasting peace between their vastly different species. The synthetic collective had been intrigued by Synth's report of their collaboration. While not entirely convinced, they had agreed to a temporary ceasefire and diplomatic talks. Now, as representatives from both the synthetic fleet and the Zixari homeworld converged on the planet, Sarah found herself in the unprecedented position of representing humanity in this interstellar negotiation. "I'm not sure I'm qualified for this," Sarah confessed to Zarfalaxin as they prepared for the first official meeting. "I'm an explorer, not a diplomat." Zarfalaxin's form shimmered with reassuring hues. "You have already proven yourself capable of bridging vast differences, Sarah Chen. Your unique perspective may be exactly what is needed here." Sarah took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "Well, when you put it that way, let's do this." The meeting took place in a neutral location, a temporary structure erected on the planet's surface designed to accommodate the needs of all three species. As Sarah entered, she couldn't help but marvel at the sight. Zixari delegates, their forms a dazzling array of colors and patterns, stood in stark contrast to the sleek, uniform appearance of the synthetic representatives. And there in the middle stood Sarah, the sole human, representing a species that until recently had been unaware of the vast galactic. As the talks progressed, Sarah was reminded of humanity's own history, the conflicts, misunderstandings, and eventual collaborations between different cultures on Earth. She drew on these examples, showing how diversity had ultimately made humanity stronger. There were moments of tension, times when it seemed the differences between them were too vast to bridge. But each time, Sarah found a way to bring them back to the table, often with unexpected insights that made even the synthetics reconsider their positions. One particularly heated debate arose around the issue of organic-synthetic integration. The synthetics proposed that the most efficient solution would be for organic species to voluntarily undergo synthetic conversion. "While we appreciate the offer," Sarah said carefully, "I don't think that's the answer. Our organic nature, with all its imperfections, is an integral part of who we are. It drives our creativity, our emotional connections, our very will to explore and grow." She paused, an idea forming. But what if we looked at it from another angle? Instead of full conversion, what if we explored ways for organic and synthetic components to work in harmony? Imagine prosthetics that could enhance organic abilities without replacing the organic entirely, or synthetic models that incorporate organic components for greater flexibility and innovation. This proposal sparked intense discussion among all parties. The synthetics were intrigued by the possibility of incorporating organic unpredictability into their systems, while the Zixari saw potential in synthetic enhancements that could aid in their adaptability. As the negotiations stretched on, Sarah found unexpected allies in both Zarfalaxin and Synth. Their shared experiences during the crisis had forged a bond that transcended their biological differences. They became powerful advocates for cooperation, often stepping in to clarify misunderstandings or offer compromises when tensions rose. Slowly but surely, progress was made. Agreements were reached on resource sharing, technological exchange, and the establishment of a permanent joint research facility on the planet. A framework for ongoing diplomatic relations between the three species was established, with provisions for future inclusion of other spacefaring races. As the final details were being hammered out, Sarah took a moment to step outside the meeting chamber. She gazed up at the alien sky, marveling at how far they had come in such a short time. A movement beside her caught her attention. Zarfalaxin and Synth had joined her. "We have achieved something remarkable here," Synth stated, its tone as close to admiration as Sarah had ever heard from a synthetic. Zarthalaxin's form rippled with agreeing colors. Indeed, this marks the beginning of a new era for all our peoples. Sarah nodded, a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration washing over her. It's just the beginning, though. We have a long road ahead of us. True, Zarthalaxin acknowledged, but we will walk it together. As they stood there, representatives of three vastly different species united in a common purpose, Sarah felt a profound sense of hope for the future. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and now, thanks to their efforts, they would explore it not as rivals, but as allies. The next day, as the final accords were signed, Sarah couldn't help but think of the long journey that had brought them to this point. From a chance encounter on a distant planet to negotiating interstellar peace, it was more than she could have ever imagined when she first set out among the stars. As she affixed her signature to the document, the first human signature on an interstellar treaty, Sarah knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity was about to take its first steps into a larger, more complex, and infinitely more exciting universe. And she, Sarah Chen, would be there to help guide the way. A new frontier. 5 years had passed since the historic alliance between humans, Zixari, and synthetics was forged. The planet that had once been a battleground was now home to the Trilateral Research Institute, a sprawling complex dedicated to collaborative study and innovation. Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the institute, gazing out at the alien landscape that had become so familiar. The once volatile energy field now pulsed with a steady, controlled rhythm, powering the facility and providing insights into new forms of sustainable energy. Quite a view, isn't it? A voice said behind her. Sarah turned to see Admiral Yoshida, her former commanding officer and now Earth's official ambassador to the Alliance. It never gets old, Sarah replied with a smile. Sometimes I still can't believe how far we've come. The Admiral nodded, his eyes reflecting the strange, beautiful horizon. You should be proud, Sarah. Your actions here didn't just save this planet. They opened up a whole new chapter for humanity. Sarah felt a flush of pride, but also a sense of responsibility. The past 5 years had been a whirlwind of activity as humanity was introduced to the wider galactic community. There had been challenges, of course, cultural misunderstandings, technological growing pains, and the occasional diplomatic hiccup. But overall, the transition had been smoother than anyone could have hoped for. Have you seen the latest reports from the medical division? Sarah asked, changing the subject. The combination of synthetic precision, Zixari adaptability, and human intuition has led to breakthroughs we couldn't have imagined a few years ago. Admiral Yoshida smiled. I have. The new prosthetics are nothing short of miraculous, and I hear the Space Exploration Division has some exciting news as well. Sarah's eyes lit up. Oh yes, we're on the verge of cracking faster-than-light travel. The synthetics' computational models, combined with Zixari energy manipulation and our own theoretical physics. Well, let's just say the galaxy is about to get a lot smaller. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Zarthalaxin and Synth. Over the years, the three of them had become an inseparable team, often called upon to handle the most delicate diplomatic missions or tackle the most challenging scientific puzzles. Sarah, Admiral, Zarthalaxin greeted them, its colors shifting in patterns that Sarah now recognized as formal respect tinged with friendly warmth. We bring news from the Galactic Council. The proposal for expanded membership has been accepted, Synth added, its voice having gained more inflection over the years of interaction with organics. 3 more species have been invited to join the Alliance. Sarah felt a thrill of excitement. The Alliance had been carefully reaching out to other spacefaring races, sharing the benefits of their cooperation and extending offers of friendship. It hadn't always been easy. Some species were distrustful, others aggressively expansionist. But slowly, steadily, they were building a network of civilizations committed to mutual growth and exploration. That's wonderful news, Admiral Yoshida said. I'll need to inform Earth's governments immediately. Sarah, I hate to ask, but you need me to head up the first contact team. Sarah finished for him, a knowing smile on her face. The Admiral nodded. You're still our best at building bridges between different species, and having Zarthalaxin and Synth with you. Well, there's no better representation of what our alliance can achieve. Sarah looked at her two friends, seeing her own excitement mirrored in Zarthalaxin's vibrant colors and Synth's subtly altered stance. Well, team, ready for another adventure. Always, Zarthalaxin pulsed enthusiastically. It is the logical next step in our mission, Synth agreed, a touch of eagerness in its tone. As they began to discuss the details of their upcoming mission, Sarah felt that familiar surge of anticipation that came with venturing into the unknown. But now, it was tempered with confidence born of experience and the knowledge that she was part of something greater than herself. The next few months were a blur of preparation and travel. Their first stop was a water world orbiting a binary star system. The native species, a race of sentient cephalopods, had only recently achieved spaceflight. Sarah's team was tasked with making a good first impression and easing them into the larger galactic community. As their ship descended through the planet's atmosphere, Sarah thought back to her own first encounter with alien life. How far she had come from that scared, stranded explorer on a desolate planet. The diplomatic meeting took place in a transparent dome beneath the waves. Sarah watched in awe as the cephalopod representatives glided through the water towards them, their bodies pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that made Zarthalaxin's color changes seem subtle in comparison. What followed was one of the most challenging and rewarding experiences of Sarah's career. The cephalopods communicated through a complex combination of color, movement, and electromagnetic pulses. It took all of their team's combined skills to establish a basic understanding. But as the talks progressed, Sarah saw the same spark of curiosity and wonder in the alien's eyes, or what passed for eyes, that she had felt on her first meeting with Zarthalaxin. The universe, vast as it was, had a way of making kindred spirits of the most disparate beings. By the time they left the water world, preliminary agreements had been signed, and plans were in place for cultural and scientific exchanges. Sarah knew there would be challenges ahead, misunderstandings to navigate, and compromises to be made. But she also knew that every such encounter made their alliance stronger, more diverse, and better equipped to face the mysteries of the cosmos. Their mission continued, taking them to worlds that defied imagination, gas giants where sentient clouds drifted in eternal storms, tidally locked planets where civilization thrived in the narrow habitable band between scorching day and freezing night, even a species that existed as pure energy, dancing between the magnetic fields of their star. With each new encounter, each challenge overcome, Sarah felt the alliance growing stronger. Humanity, once a tiny speck in the vast cosmic ocean, was now an integral part of a growing interstellar community. Years passed, and Sarah found herself taking on more responsibility within the alliance. She split her time between diplomatic missions, scientific research, and mentoring the next generation of explorers. Humans were now a common sight on worlds across the galaxy, bringing with them their unique blend of adaptability, creativity, and determination. On the 10th anniversary of the Alliance's founding, Sarah stood once again on the observation deck of the Trilateral Research Institute. Beside her was Zarthalaxin and Synth, the three of them having long since transcended mere friendship to become something closer to family. As they watched the sun set on the alien horizon, painting the sky in colors no Earth artist had ever imagined, Sarah felt a profound sense of contentment. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" she asked her companions. "The universe is full of possibilities," Zarthalaxin replied, its colors shifting in a pattern Sarah recognized as deep affection. "But I must admit, the reality has exceeded even my most optimistic projections." "The variables were too numerous for accurate prediction," Synth added, "but I find myself satisfied with the outcome, perhaps even happy." Sarah smiled, hearing the genuine emotion in the synthetic's voice. It was a small thing, but it represented how far they had all come. As the first stars began to appear in the darkening sky, Sarah thought about the future. There were still challenges to face, new frontiers to explore, mysteries waiting to be unraveled. But now they would face them together, not as separate species, but as a united alliance representing the best of what each had to offer. Humanity had found its place among the stars, and Sarah Chen, once a lone explorer on a distant world, had helped to light the way. The universe, vast and wondrous, beckoned, and they were ready to answer its call.